Let's talk about Pedro Siza Vieira. Pedro Siza Vieira is currently a minister in the Portuguese government. However, his main attribute is the fact that he is a personal friend of the Prime Minister António Costa. When António Costa was the mayor of Lisbon, the company for which Pedro Siza Vieira worked for was constantly hired by the City Hall to provide the services that they provide. By law, in Portugal, every single public institution has to do a sort of public contest so that they request whatever company is interested in providing that service, that they apply, and then the public institution will make the decision based on what's best for the use of the public money, which usually means the best price for the best service. But when it came to the company of Pedro Siza Vieira and António Costa as the mayor, all these contracts were made directly. There was no public contest, and the company of Pedro Siza Vieira was simply chosen by the mayor at the time, António Costa. This was, of course, done because they are friends and they don't really care about what happens to the public money. The public money is their money in the way that the socialists think, and so they simply hire these companies because it's their friends, their family members that work for those companies, and they will be paid with the taxpayer money. Again, socialists don't care. They just want access to the taxpayer money as much as possible so that they can do precisely this. But in 2015, the current government went into power. It was a coup, basically. They didn't win elections, but they formed an alliance with the far left, and they created the current government, a left and far left coalition. For the government, you essentially only have socialists. The far left made a coalition with the socialists, but they have no one in the government itself. They simply provide policies that will have to be approved by the socialists, otherwise the far left will remove themselves from the coalition and the socialists will no longer have the majority in parliament. That's the way that this fantasy government in Portugal works. So when António Costa was deciding who will be part of the government, he made a direct decision for the Deputy Minister of Economy. And who was that person? Well, Pedro Siza Vieira, of course. He is one of the Prime Minister's best friends, and of course he had to select him to be part of the government. The taxpayer will obviously have to pay for the salary of the best friend of the Prime Minister. But this isn't the end of Pedro Siza Vieira's story. The fact is that Pedro Siza Vieira, one day before going into government, created another company, which, according to the Portuguese law, is a crime. When you go into public office, you cannot maintain your job in any other position. And Pedro Siza Vieira, of course, knew about this, but when this was found out, he claimed he didn't know the law, which I'm sure you understand, and I'm also pretty sure that in your country it's the same way. You claiming that you don't know the law is not an excuse to break the law. But that's exactly what happened to Pedro Siza Vieira. Why? Because he is the friend, or one of the best friends, of the Prime Minister António Costa. And so he essentially has the get-out-of-jail-free card. By having this sort of friendship, you can essentially commit any crimes in Portugal. Nothing will happen to you. The consequence of the law for breaking it is that you will lose your job. You will lose your job in public office. Because the Prime Minister, the main facilitator of Pedro Siza Vieira, was not going to fire him, even though he should, the case was sent to the Constitutional Court. It would be the Constitutional Court to decide if Pedro Siza Vieira would get a penalty or not. But if you've heard my previous videos, then you'll understand that the Constitutional Court is just another bunch of public servants. They do absolutely nothing, and the Constitution is never followed by them. They simply create a sort of interpretation around whatever they want to happen. It's not exactly what is in the Constitution. It's just their interpretation so that whatever they want actually comes true instead of making sure the Constitution is followed. And they're very slow also in doing their own interpretations. So what happened was that Pedro Siza Vieira was waiting for the Constitutional Court's decision for months and months, while the Prime Minister was trying to cover up the situation and making sure that Pedro Siza Vieira would not have any kind of consequence for this. And what did he do? Well, he promoted Pedro Siza Vieira to minister. He was the deputy minister, and now he is an actual full-blown minister in the current government. Not long after this, the Constitutional Court appeared with the decision for the appreciation of Pedro Siza Vieira's case. And what they said was baffling, because they claimed that they believe in the good intentions of Pedro Siza Vieira when he claimed he didn't know the law. They say that he acted in good faith. So a precedent was created, claiming that you do not know the law, at least for the friends of the Prime Minister and all sorts of higher-ups in political parties, will essentially grant you absolutely no consequences for your crimes. Pedro Siza Vieira is in government right now illegally because he broke the law, for which the consequence of breaking that law is to lose your job in public office. But nothing happened to him. In fact, he is now promoted to minister, which is, again, another demonstration of how corrupt and how impossibly bad the system in Portugal is. Again, this is not a constitutional republic. We do have a constitution, but it's not followed. It never is. It's only followed when the interests of the political parties are threatened in some way, and the Constitution somehow will protect them. That's when the Constitution is important. Everything else, out of the 296 articles that we have in our Constitution, the Portuguese Constitution, will be ignored if it means that it will, protect the Portuguese people. Everything will be ignored in that context. The Constitution is only useful when it protects the interests of the political parties and the friends of political parties. Pedro Siza Vieira is the perfect example of a corrupt man, someone that committed crimes and has absolutely no consequences for his crimes just because he is the best friend of the Prime Minister in Portugal. I would also like to introduce you to my second channel. It's a very small channel for now. It's completely unrelated with political stuff. It's mostly videos that I like to do with drone footage and all sorts of photos and videos that I take on some sort of trips that I've done in the past, and also videos that I like to edit together. And actually I'm working on one now. Hopefully it will be up soon. So please check it out, and if you like it, subscribe. Also leave comments and let me know what you think. So thanks, and I'll see you next time.